good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you're joining in from. Put down in the chat where are you from and how are you feeling today. We're going to speak about feelings right from the beginning because today's Dr. Meets Healers topic is all about emotional health and well being. While we're speaking about emotional health, it's also important for you to understand that your emotions are connected to your physical body and diseases. You will know that in today's life, how is it connected and what's the solution for it. So stay on to it so that you really understand how your body is emoting. And while we come to more details of what's going to happen in today's live and you sharing from where you are, let me tell you in brief what all will be covered in today's live. First, we'll speak about origin of feelings. Second, we'll speak how do you actually understand your feelings, in which category do you fall under. Third, how are emotions connected to diseases, especially chronic diseases? And finally, tips and practical insights on how you really can work on your emotions and on your health so you can be healthy and happy, not just today, but in the long term. I know you all might be wondering that where is the guest today because the live is Doctor Meets Healer. So in today's live, you will be meeting the doctor in me and the healer in me together because that's what I've been doing from last 5 years. So to give you my introduction for all those of you who are new here, I'm Dr. Harshita Jain, a allopathic doctor, a general practitioner, and a therapist, along with a healer who've been working from 5 years on an holistic approach. What is that approach? You will know shortly as we go ahead because this Doctor Meets Healer series was started with that intent that Empowered has its pillar and foundation that it works on anything holistically, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And as an allopathic doctor, I thought it's very important that people actually have an awareness about another perspective, a perspective of a healer also, where they can really focus on reversing diseases, live a healthier life, do not have to be dependent on medicines for lifelong. And that is when this series was started from Doctor Meets Healer. So, all of you who are new here, I welcome you all to our Empowered community and to this series of Dr. Meets Healer. And all of you who've been coming in again and again, I am glad it's episode 8 today on emotional health, and you've been coming in again and again for all the episode. That really shows how this is working for you. So, put down in the chat that how is Dr. Meets Healer series supporting you all this while. And while you share it in the chat, let me just see the comments which have already been coming in. Let's begin with the topic today, emotional health and well being. So, firstly, how does your emotion origin? Your emotion origins when there is a trigger. Now, this trigger can be internal or this trigger can be external. But when there is a trigger, just for example, if I turn on the switch, a switch is turned on and that becomes the trigger. The turning on is the trigger, and from there is a pathway which goes on and then secretes a chemical. Now this chemical can be your neurotransmitter, can be a hormone, can be a protein, can be any enzyme, and this chemical gives a response. Like if I turn on a switch and there's a wire which goes on and connecting it and then goes to the geyser and turns the geyser on. The turning the geyser on is the response, and that response is what a feeling is. So every feeling needs a trigger. This trigger can be internal or external. So let me play a game with you all. I will tell you certain triggers. You will identify if this trigger is an internal trigger or an external trigger and put it down in the chat If it's I for internal, E for external. So first trigger is traffic jam, traffic signals. Is this an internal trigger or external trigger? External trigger, right. Next, ideas. Ideas, are these internal trigger or external trigger? Yes. Hello everybody, now those who are joining in right now. Yes, ideas are an internal trigger. I. Next, coming to past experiences and memories. Past experiences and memories are, yes, they are again internal trigger. Why the internal? They're coming from within you. A fight, a fight between say parents, a fight between friends, a fight. Is it an internal trigger or an external trigger? No, you all are saying I, but actually a fight is an external trigger because you're witnessing it. It's happening outside of you. So a fight is an external trigger. So while these triggers are happening, your brain, there's a pathway which is being triggered, and this end response leads to a feeling. Now there is one advantage because we all are humans, your intelligence can also influence the response and it can decide which emotion to get triggered. That's why same experience can actually generate two different emotions completely. So, one experience, two different people, they can have a completely different emotion in that experience, and that happens because of your intelligence. So, that's actually a blessing in disguise you have, that you can use your intelligence to add a meaning to the experience to completely change the emotion. Now that you're able to identify which emotions are getting triggered, how are they getting triggered, I want you all to put down in the chat what are your predominant emotions. You can see it for today, a week ago, or from a month. What are your usual predominant emotions? Is it like anger? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it happiness? Is it joy? Is it fear? Is it stress? Is it ecstasy? Is it peace? Seeing certain emotions coming in. I want you all to continue putting down in the chat which emotions you predominantly feel. Okay, because that's what's going to lead us to the next part of it, which is the most important and crucial in your emotional health, is identifying how do you actually are able to process your emotion. So you will fall in either of these two categories. The first category is known as emotional type. What do I mean by emotional type? Here, you are somebody who already has awareness of your emotion. You are able to pinpoint which emotion you're feeling, in which situation you're feeling, how intense is your emotion. Is it very intense? Is it light? So, you have the awareness and understanding of your emotions in this situation. Then you fall under the emotion type. Second is the physical type. In physical type, you don't have the awareness emotionally, but your body is talking to you. You will find uneasiness, discomfort in the body. There will be random movements, sensation, aches and pains, and you'll be wondering, why is this even happening with me? So all of those indicates that there is an emotion which you're feeling and your body is expressing it. So then you fall under physical type. I want you to pause for yourself and reflect which type do you fall under. Is it emotional type or the physical type? And put down in the chat because that's a crucial thing. Let me give you an example. Suppose you are signed up for an adventurous activity. It can be like a skydiving or a bungee jumping. And when you're at the movement of doing that skydiving, if your body has frozen, it's not moving, then you fall under the physical type. But at the other end, if there is the emotion of excitement, nervousness, and you're able to gauge, oh, my excitement is on 10 on 10, my nervousness is on somewhere 2 to 3 on 10, there's a little bit fear as well, but I'm looking forward to as well, then you fall under the emotion type. So put down in the chat, which type are you in? Are you the type who's emoting expressions in emotional type or physical type? This is going to be important for you so that you can identify how aware are you about your emotions and how your body is responding to emotions. Okay, I can see something. Yeah, we have one physical type, one emotional type. Good. I want you all to recognize there would be time you would be feeling that I am both of it. But in reality, you will predominantly be one type. It will either be emotional or physical. But with more practice, awareness, and more evolving, you may be able to experience the other as well. So eventually, you may experience both. But there would be one predominant type. So identify your predominant type. And while you're identifying a predominant type, you'd be wondering that feeling emotions is a good thing. In fact, it is actually a good thing. We are all humans, not robots, even though we are in AI Zamana, but we are all humans. So we do tend to feel emotions. So, what is the difference? When these emotions from short term, they become long term, that is when a problem arises. You're supposed to feel emotions just for few seconds to few minutes. But if these short duration emotion become long duration, that's when the problem arises. Just for example, suppose I have turned on the switch and left the switch on, then what would happen to the geyser? The geyser would ultimately give in rust because the pathway is continuously going in. So the signal of switching on, the pathway is continuously triggered, and there is hormones or neurotransmitters, those chemicals continuously secreting again and again and again. So this emotion has now gotten stuck in your body and it's leading to a geyser right now here, which is completely given away. You cannot use it anymore. It's burst, it's burnt. And that's what happens to the body ultimately. When the emotions become long term duration, the body will actually start stuck emotions, and then you end up having diseases. How is this happening? Because of again two pathways. The first pathway is when a negative emotion, when an emotion becomes chronic, when there is stress, it directly affects your immune system. Your immunity goes on for toss, and when your immunity goes on for toss, you become more susceptible to any kind of infection, any kind of bacteria, viruses. You tend to fall sick often. You will have a lot of lethargy, tiredness, fatigue. You will experience all of that. So that's one. And second is, I'm seeing certain personal diseases coming in. Hold on to it. I will go ahead and answer those as well. And second is when the emotions are chronic and high intensity and they're not being addressed, the body starts getting inflamed. Just take, for example, when you're angry, will you look like this? No, your face will start flushing, look red, you will feel hot, and there'll be so much energy going on. While that's happening externally, internally also, that's exactly what's happening. Your cells are feeling red, they're getting hot. And that process in medical language is called as inflammation. And now, if you actually go up and read more about it, researchers have shown inflammation has become the most prominent cause for every chronic disease, be it diabetes, cancer, hypertension, heart diseases. And all of that's happening when your negative emotions stay for a long term duration. They become chronic, they get stuck. It's like you've turned on the light and but you've forgotten to switch it off. So continuously there is neurotransmitter which is being secreted, and that's what's happening at the body level, and that's what is the connection between emotion and diseases. So I want you to pause here. I already saw certain diseases coming in. Want you to reflect, which stage are you in? Are you at a stage where you already have a disease, where you have a diagnosis in place, when there is something which is off with your physical body? Or are you at a stage where you are emotionally feeling unwell, uneasiness, discomfort? or you're somewhere in middle of these two? Which stage are you in? One, two, three. Put down in the chat. I'm in the middle stage, already diagnosed with a disease. Okay, there is certain diseases names as well we're getting in. Okay. While you all continue sharing these stages, let's understand what you need to do. If you're at a stage where you already have a disease, you're diagnosed with it, it becomes all the more important that you holistically address it. Please understand, I am an allopathic doctor. I am somebody who actually prescribes allopathic medicines. Okay. But along with that, down the line in 6 years, I've realized that it's important that you start addressing the emotions, you start addressing your mindset as well. Because what's happening is when you're not addressing it, you're giving the medicine, person comes back to you with the same disease after a while, or eventually you have to increase the dose of medicine, so you're not able to permanently resolve it, and somebody is getting dependent on medicine for life because of that. Instead, when I've noticed them working on their emotions, working on their lifestyle, bringing those minute shift, they're not just able to control their disease, they're able to reverse it completely, reduce the dose of medicine, and that's when they're completely becoming healthy and well. And that's what I believe in practicing as well, that I would want patients to be healthier, they need to be well, so they don't have to keep coming back to me with the same disease and me prescribing the medicine. So if you're in that stage where you already have a diagnosis, if it is not something which lands up you in emergency hospital, please, if it is an emergency, go to the hospital, address it that way. But if it is at that stage where you can work on it holistically, then start with addressing your emotions. That's one gift you can give yourself of taking care of that physical issue. And secondly, if it's in the first stage where you're in emotional, I didn't see anybody being in that stage where you're in that emotion. The tips which I'm going to share right now, in some time, you will be able to address it with that itself. So eventually, you'll be able to prevent the diseases. You will not have to go through a experience of your geyser getting burst. You will be able to turn off the switch so your geyser can continue functioning normally. And thirdly, if you fall in that in between stage, this is actually the most dicey situation where you have your emotions are get going towards long term. It's not fully long term that it creates your diseases, but they're already in that long term phase where eventually, if it's not addressed here, you will eventually have diseases. So this is actually, I would call, a bridge phase or a fence phase. And what happens here is where your body's each organ's functioning starts reducing. You will see that the functioning of each organ, which is supposed to be 100%, starts going to 90, 80, 70 before it has any disease. How you will notice that? You will experience, like, in your muscles there would be tension, you will find your muscles are getting stiffness. Similar to your joints also, you will feel there is a tightness, there is stiffness in your joint. You will have a lot of aches and pains in different parts of the body, they will be moving around. In your digestion, you will find uneasiness, discomfort, there would be acidity, bloating. Whatever, you're having a very healthy diet also, still you're not able to digest it. You will find either you're constipated or you are just having diarrhea, digestion goes for off. You'll have other symptoms of sweating. That it can affect all different kinds of your body organs. And this is a stage where tricky to even diagnose, because your blood test will show everything is normal, but emotionally something is going off. Physically, you know that there is some uneasiness, but you're not able to pinpoint. So here we have actually gone ahead and simplified for you. We have created a questionnaire. Just by filling in those questionnaire, you can identify which system is gone for a toss and at what percentage is that system functioning. So we will put down the link for you to fill up that questionnaire. in the chat, and those of you who will see this live later on, will it will be there in the description as well. So take some time, just fill up those questionnaire. It doesn't require any inch tape, any weighing scale, or any equipments. All you need is like 5 minutes. There's already that questionnaire is pinned, it's put down by the chat. It's already there in the chat, so you can click on the link and you can fill it up after this live. And once you filled up, you will get a customized report. I will go through all your responses individually, and you will have a customized report to know which organ is functioning at what level. And that is what will be able to bridge the gap for somewhere who somebody is in between. And that's the bonus of it, that you don't have to wait for a diagnosis to know that what's actually happening with your body. Even before you have a diagnosis, you can start addressing it only when its battery is going low. Just like how I say, you don't have to wait for your phone to get completely switched off to get charge it, right? When your phone is at a lower percentage of battery, you can take a charger and put it onto it. That's exactly what this questionnaire is going to do when you get its report. Well, that's on one hand. Now let's come to the solution part of it, that how do you make these emotions, which are supposed to be short term, be short term? Because, like we already established, we're all humans. We're supposed to feel emotions, and we cannot feel only positive emotions every day. There would be times we will feel negative emotion. There would be times we'll feel really very negative, low vibrating emotions. And there would be time we'd be feeling happy emotions. But how do we make this emotion short term and not long term? Because long term emotions staying is what is creating diseases, but short term is not creating any kind of diseases. So the solution to this is movement. When I say movement, here I mean it could be as simple as getting up and walking, that kind of movement, to even high intensity exercise. It can be movement of just writing something, or taking an action towards your goal, or just making a phone call and doing something. Basically, any action where you are physically doing something and moving your body can actually make you channelize your emotion. And as you're able to channelize your emotion, that is when your emotions will not become long term. From being stuck, they will get released, they will flow. So, for all of you who've joined live, put down your predominant emotion, or the emotion you find it difficult to channelize, which you think is getting stuck in your life. And for each of those emotions, we will discuss right away what could be the best way to channelize it. Which movement should you opt for it? While you put that, there is a question on gallbladder stone, but I cannot read the entire question. I can just see gallbladder stone. Could you retype your question, please? There's an overlap of chat happening. While you all recognize which emotion you all are feeling and put it down in the chat, let me pick up the predominant emotions. First predominant emotion could be anger. Anger as an emotion itself is often high intensity. This as an emotion, you will not feel like, oh, I will just sit and meditate. So for this, the best movement is something which puts your entire body into motion. So something like running, jogging, doing jumping jacks, punching, like doing a punching box of those boxing. So these high intensity movement can work in channelizing, releasing your anger. And that's when your anger is completely channelized in that sport, in that activity, so to not get stuck in your body. And that's how you can really reduce the intensity of anger over a period of time. So if you're somebody who labels yourself that I'm a little angry person, or you find yourself getting angry, irritated quite often, then you can take up any of these sports which work for you as in daily or a regular basis, like weekly, thrice, or 4 times. So eventually you can completely channelize, and you will see that your anger is completely getting resolved here. We see a lot of sportsmen, athletes also channelizing these emotion in their sport, and that's how they become the greatest of all time sportsmen. There was, I think, an emotion. All the chats are overlapping. Not able to read any of your chats. Okay, there's an emotion of fear. So, fear. So, let's understand fear is, two of you have put the emotion of fear. So, fear is a low intensity emotion. When you're feeling fear, how do you feel? You feel like going in a shell, you feel restricted, you feel limited. So, that is what you begin with. You start putting your body in that position where you're finding yourself, you're in the shell, you're in a cocoon, you're restricting yourself. And when you're in that position for few movements, for few minutes, you will start noticing that your fear's intensity is reducing. And as you see that the intensity is reducing, you will see that your body is settling in, and that is when you break free. You actually do movement where you are breaking away those chains, when you are releasing it. Open your arms, get up, walk. So that is how you can channelize your emotion of fear and improve the vibration also. When you will break free, when you will break free of those cocoons, those restrictions, those limits, you'll also be able to start going a little higher intensity of being able to take action towards it. So that's how you can channelize your fear as an emotion so it doesn't get stuck. Because if fear gets stuck, what actually happens is you start putting on weight, your fat increases, you will start having chronic diseases because of increasing in weight and overweight. We have done a complete live also on it, a Dr. Meets Healer episode 1. You can always go back to that and understand that. The next emotion which I can see is frustration. So frustration is actually a little lower intensity of an emotion of like anger. So if somebody who's getting frustrated and irritated with any of those trigger, what you can do is write down, journaling, writing down your ideas, your thoughts, all of that, that can give you clarity and make you move, make you release the frustration. Because as you start writing down, you will start moving your fingers, making sure that there's a movement and a different emotion is creating. You would actually notice that somebody's restless or somebody's anxious, they will start doing something with the pen, they will start snapping their fingers, they will start moving their fingers or their legs. That's all indicating that there is a restless energy, there's frustration, there is irritation, there's anxious energy. So instead of doing those movements, use these same fingers, same thing, to write it down. In that way you're channelizing the emotion of frustrated and turning it into clarity. Let's take two more emotions, and so you all get different ideas of what different emotions can lead you to. And then eventually you can always keep putting down in the chat what emotions you're going through, and we'll be here to respond back to you in the chat as well. And you can reach out to us in community, and also in the questionnaire also there is a complete question that which emotion you're feeling and how is that can support you. So you can put it down over there also, and we'll reach out to you. While we do that, any last two emotions? Let's see the chat again. Okay, I see the emotion of sadness. So again, if we see sadness is again a lower vibrating emotion. So when you're sad, firstly accept and allow yourself to feel sad. You don't have to straight away at that time deal with it, that start questioning that why am I feeling sad? I don't want to feel sad this way. I don't want to be sad. Doing all of that, it's actually a way of making your emotions stuck. So at that time, just allow yourself to be sad in that moment. If it feels like you don't want to do anything for a few moments, just sit down, don't do anything, just stay with your thought, pause for those moments. And as you pause, you will start getting certain ideas and thoughts, and you can take action towards those ideas and thoughts. In case you happen to that you don't get any ideas or thoughts, then just sit down, first pause for a moment, and then you can either go ahead and start journaling, or you can start getting up and start walking in a slow pace first, and then start walking in a faster pace. In that way, you are releasing the sadness also, and you're also starting to give a direction to your movement. And that way, you'll start getting direction to your life. You'll start getting ideas and thoughts for what next needs to be done. And that will immediately snap you out of the sadness emotion. While we discuss so many other emotions, remember the thumb rule for channelizing and expressing all the emotion is movement. So think about next time when you find yourself stuck in a negative emotion, any kind of emotion which is upsetting you. Think about it, pause for that moment. That what movement can I do? What action can I do to really get out of it? So, in that way, you will be able to channelize your emotion. You have any other questions, you can always put it down in the chat. But officially, thank you all for joining. We'll end this live of Dr. Meets Healer here for the emotional well being and emotional health and well being here. In case you have any specific personal question, you can put it down in the chat. I'll see what we can address it right now, or you can always leave it and we'll come back to it. Thank you all for joining in, and make sure you go ahead and see our other episodes. You can always like it and hit the bell icon so next time when we go live, you are notified. There's a question on gallbladder stone, but I'm not able to see the entire question. Let me see if there is, I can read the entire question now. Okay, what is an emotion which gets stored or stuck in a gallbladder? So let me tell you two things here. One, what is the thought process also for gallbladder, and also the secondly the emotion. Firstly, the gallbladder here would signify relationship. So if the gallbladder has stones, then there would be a relationship which is right now broken, or so when there is a broken relationship, the gallbladder gets affected, there could be stones formation in it. And when it comes to emotion, there is pain, the pain and the hurt of that broken relationship, that it cannot be repaired. It has now crossed the phase that it's beyond repair, it's broken to that stage. So the pain and hurt of that relationship is what gets stored in the gallbladder. So, as a healing for that, what could be done is, you're at a right place. The technique for that, which can be done, is Hoponopono. And we already have a meditation on our Empowered channel also. You can go on to that and just type Hoponopono, or just go on to a channel, you will find Hoponopono and do that meditation. You will start seeing that there is a shift, firstly, in how that relationship is, how you are perceiving that relationship, and eventually there would be a physical shift also, which you can monitor it through scans. So that's a technique which you can use, Hoponopono, and the meditation of that is there on our Empowered Body Mind Souls YouTube channel. So I hope I've answered all your questions. I don't see any further questions. So thank you all. In case you do have any questions, just put it down in the chat. So while I've said all of you the emotional tips as well, make sure you are following on the physical tip, especially for the gallbladder stone. You doing your physical things of whatever your doctors told you, like diet which is low on fat, basically making sure you're not eating too much of it, spacing out your meals, you're taking care in the form of walking, doing lightweight exercises, so there is no stagnancy. And if it requires losing weight, then you're working on that as well. So make sure you're always addressing any issue from all three dimensions, mentally, emotionally, and physically as well. So, on that note, thank you all, everybody. Take care and have a healthy life and a happier you. Thank you.